about this talk today, the union of opposites. It is something that I really learned about and I want to share with you. So I'm super excited to share with you about the topic today. I'm excited to share. Welcome everybody as you're joining in. I want to share with you first about rhythmia, and then I want to get into the topic, the union of opposites. This was a really amazing realization that I had. I want to share with you what happened to me this week that had me see the machinations of my mind and how this really works when we unify the opposites. And this is ancient yin and yang, the Hermetic principle of rhythm, the science of mind. All of these things are saying the same thing. And the union of opposites is a Jungian concept that I want to share with you. So welcome everyone as you are streaming in. Let me know where you're from, where you're listening from. Let me know that you're here. I'm super excited to have you. Rhythmia is open. We want you to come down and see us because this is the fastest union of opposites. When we enter into the realm of plant medicine and when we retreat, right? When we step away from the world and we take this time to help ourselves. Hey, Kalanic Sally from the UK, welcome. When we take the time to retreat, we retreat to move forward. We step out of the world so that we can come in. Margarita from Orlando, hello. We must repressurize ourselves. Sometimes the pressure of the world is so intense that it begins to weigh in on us. Soul Center OC, Bridget, hey, love it. And when the world begins to pressure, the pressure becomes so great, we have to balance, just like you pressurize a plane or you pressurize a submarine, right? We have to repressurize our interior so that we can withstand the effects of life. That's what a retreat does. That's what rhythmia does. That's why we say come back once a year, right? Come back so that you can repressurize yourself and step back out into the world. All right, we got some folks coming in. We've got Nadia, hello. Mannequin from Las Vegas, what's up? Where in Arizona are you, Kelly? And Linda Thomas Young. Hey, Linda from Southern Utah. So great. We had some great times at Rhythmia together, Miss Linda Young. I remember you very well. In fact, I think you type if this is correct, Linda. One of my favorite things that I ever heard from a guest coming out of ceremony, I think it was you, Linda, that came out of ceremony and said, freedom is observation without judgment. Wasn't that you? Yes. Joseph from Liverpool, Farah from Tennessee. Wow, beautiful. Kelly, welcome. We can't wait to have you. So that was the first part of the talk, is just a little bit, Robin, hello, a little bit about rhythmia and why we want to go to retreats. We want to retreat so we can move forward. We want to retreat so that we can repressurize ourselves to withstand the world of effects, so we can walk in the world and not of it, so that we can lift our minds above confusion. Now, this is also the talk for today. Hey, Nadia and Josie from California, Lodi, California, Romania. Hey, yes, Aya told you that, Linda. That was beautiful. Sweet Paul, I'm just loving it. From Liberty, Amanda, Matthew from Texas. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. All right. Cesar from Puerto Rico. Cesar. Buenos dias, Cesar. Puerto Rico. Okay. Wasn't that a Hector Lavoe song? Anyway. All right, everybody. Good day, Chris. Welcome. All right. Here's our talk today on Norway, India. Wow. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Cesar asked about the scholarship program. We are going to reinstate the scholarship program as soon as things starts to normalize a little bit. And we're going to expand the scholarship program. Yes, right now you can go to the Rhythmia website and click on scholarship. It's suspended, but we have a scholarship program and we're going to be expanding it to 1/3 of our occupancy. So it's based on economic need. And all the information is there. John O'Brien from Scotland, lad. Laddie. It's not lad, it's laddie, right, John? Okay. And North Central Arkansas. Hello, Georgina. And Lily from Australia. Wow, I'm loving it. Thank you all. Thank you. Texas in the house. Quincy. Canada. Welcome, Dante. All right. The union of opposites is our talk today. This is a Jungian Carl Jung concept, and I want to share it with you because something happened in my life, and the story tells of how we're called to lift up. Hello, Justin from Houston, Gabriel from Brazil, Gabriel. Wow, love it, and Merlinda in Wisconsin. Glad you're here. Okay. So I want to tell you a story of what happened this weekend. And John, I'm sorry, I keep seeing all these people coming in. I'm not getting to the talk because I'm like, Paul from Ireland. Hello, how are you? I'm sorry, my Irish accent is just like Lucky Charms. It's very bad. The Bahamas. Hey, all right, now let's get to the talk. All right, here's what happened. I had a client. I see private clients who do spiritual counseling. My client was here. We're talking, and I had an agreement. I have a housemate. Because I'm gone so long, he stays in the house when I'm not here. And he was here. And I promised that I would be at a certain time. I had an hour session with my client. We ended up going over. So I have asked my housemate, to be conscious of coming in and out when I have a client. And we're usually really good about it. But he came out and I was, half hour over. So it was an hour and a half instead of an hour. He came out and I immediately apologized to him. And he was a little snippy with me. Now, this is in front of my client. My client and I were finished. My client was leaving. My housemate was getting ready to leave. And now we're all in the same space. And he's being a little snippy. And I'm apologizing. And now I'm getting a little snippy because I'm like, dude, I'm apologizing. Like, back off. And he starts in on bringing up something that happened the night before. And so I obviously didn't want to go into the whole conversation in front of my client, but my client could sense that there was something amiss. So my housemate leaves, and I don't want to leave like, here, I've just had this beautiful spiritual session with my client. And now my housemate and I had, we didn't have a spat, but there was obviously an energetic something going on. So I said to her, here's the situation, right? I don't want to just cover it up and deny it. She witnessed it. She was there, and it's a teaching moment. Here's the situation. Here's what happened. The day before, I was doing a Facebook Live, and my housemate walked in, and I'm very clear about the times when I'm doing the Facebook Lives, not to come in and out. It makes noise. It's distracting. And I have a standing agreement. We have an agreement, clear, open, honest communication, key. Loving communication. So we have this agreement. He walked in and I texted him later saying, hey, here's what happened. You came in. It was distracting. You sent your girlfriend in after. That was even more distracting. We have this agreement. In the future, will you please be sure not to be coming in and out of my space during these times? And his response was, it's the same thing that you did when you were late with your client. And I was pissed. So he leaves. My client is there. And I say to my client, all right, here's where I go. I explained to her the whole situation. And here's where I go with that. I want to be right. I'm so right about this. I have an agreement with you. I was integrity with the agreement. We have a standing agreement not to come in and out. I also had an agreement with you about not being more than an hour. And I broke that agreement. I was out of integrity. And the minute I saw you, I apologized and acknowledged that I was out of integrity. So I didn't see any way in which I was wrong, right? And now my client, here's the thing. I could invest myself in being right. And not only can you feel that energy, right? You know that you do this too. We invest ourselves in being right. And then we start to have conversations with the other person, proving ourselves. Yeah, well, let me just tell you, this is what I would say if he was standing right here, right? And we say all sorts of things. And now we're creating this energy and putting that energy around the situation. So I said to my client, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to begin speaking, because my housemate left and I wasn't going to see him until later that night. So I didn't want to walk around all day with this heaviness, this conversation in my head. And Kelly says, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Yeah, but I also don't want to be a doormat, right? So how do we navigate all that? I don't want to be right. I want to be happy. And I also want to be clear and honest in my communications. How do we do that? The union of opposites. So I say to my client, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start speaking to my housemate, higher self to higher self right now. And I began to have that conversation saying, look, I know that you have a perspective here. You have a point. I know that I have a point. I know that we both want a happy, harmonious home. And I want to hear you. That's how I started throughout my day. I kept saying, I really want to hear you. I started having that conversation with him. Hey, you know what? I want to make sure I understand. You have something to say. Tell me. I want to hear it. Tell me what upset you about the last 2 days. I want to hear your side. Tell me. And then, the energy starts to lighten up. Now I'm feeling more open around him. I'm going about my tasks through the day. Whenever the situation comes up, I think to myself, I want to hear what he has to say. I'm open and available. I want him to know that I'm speaking from my heart to his. This is all alchemical work that we do in consciousness, and we can all do it because we're all connected. We're all part of the same energy. It's in, through, and as us. It's the same energy that all of life is creating. That's in the plants, it's in the trees, it's in you, that's in me, that's in the rocks, it's in the birds, it's in the bees, it's in the sea. It's all the same energy. It's in him, it's in me, it's in you. So I can tap into that. And I can start by having these high-minded conversations instead of lower vibrational frequency conversations about who's right. So I begin to have this conversation. Now, the night goes on. We see each other later in the afternoon. We work out together. So we were at the outside platform where we work out now because no gyms are open in Los Angeles still. And we had a good workout. Nothing was said. The evening went until there was an appropriate moment. And I was in a mood of peace and he was in a mood of peace. And I said, hey, do you want to talk about what happened? And he said, yeah, sure. And I said, okay, so I really want to hear what you have to say. Will you tell me what was upsetting to you? Now, I knew this was dangerous because I could get triggered really quickly. So I had to prepare myself. No yeah buts, no interrupting. Hear what he has to say. And not only hear what he has to say, but I'm going to repeat what he said back to him to make sure that I understood it. So he goes through his whole explanation. I hear it. And then I repeat it. Okay, so you were saying, and I even made his argument a little better, right? And he felt heard. And I heard what he had to say. And then I shared with him, I said, can I share with you my perspective? And it wasn't about me being right or me persuading him to my side or him persuading me to his side. We both just got heard. I shared with him how I feel about the agreements and that I was in integrity and that we have these standing agreements and And he said, I hear what you have to say. I understand. I can see that. There was no need for either of us to prove that we were right or even to apologize or anything. It just resolved itself because we were, first of all, in a mood of peace. I believe because of that pre-work that I did in consciousness. And there was a union of opposites. I saw his side. He saw my side. And so what I thought was bad became good, and what I thought was good became bad. This is the union of opposites. This is the harmonizing of two polar points of view. This is the work. Now, so there's the story. Now, here's the unpacking of the story through principle. I could call on this higher part of me, right? That was the first work that was done. I began speaking higher self to higher self. Now, Carl Jung has a phrase called enantiodromia. Enantiodromia means the union of opposites. The union of opposites. And it is very akin to the principle of equilibrium in the natural world. When in the equilibrium in the natural world is that everything is moving towards homeostasis, that, and everything is looking towards balance and harmony. Everything, all systems. This is actual mathematical law. There's a mathematical equation called the Kurimoto equation, and you may have seen it in metronomes. If you ever Google 32 metronomes on YouTube, and you'll see these 32 metronomes that come into harmony. They're all going at different times, and then before you know it, they're all going at the same time. That's a mathematical example of this law that all physical and biological systems seek to move to homeostasis. This is enantiodromia, or the union of opposites. It is yin and yang. The yin and the yang is that the yin line becomes the yang line when it's at its extreme. It becomes its opposite. This is the truth. This is how we resolve conflict. That one becomes the other in the extreme opposites. Now, from a Jungian perspective, if we don't address these things, they become repressed. And then they outpicture as aberrant behavior and compulsive behavior that's uncontrolled, and it's being funded by a repressed consciousness. So this, it becomes its shadow opposite when we repress it. When we don't deal with these things, they get stuck down within our unconscious, and it becomes the shadow opposite outpicturing in our lives, the exact opposite of what we want to happen. So it's very important that we have this understanding of this principle that all things move in rhythm, just like the pendulum. The pendulum swings, and as far as it swings one way, it's going to swing the other way. And this pendulum-like movement is action and reaction. This is physics. This is the basic law. It has to do with everything in nature, and it has to do with our mental states as well. Now, I want to talk to you about the pendulum, because if you think of a pendulum, right? Pendulum is swinging back and forth. This is my rape pipe. But the pendulum is swinging back and forth, right? Now, the movement, as it swings this way, what causes it to come back this way is an upward pull. So there's a physical action happening here. It's being pulled upward, so it causes it to come back. And as far as it goes this way is as far as it's going to go the other way until eventually it comes to stasis. I want you to notice what's happening up here. It's not moving as much, is it? Up in the upper regions of this is the still point up here. This is the rod, and this is the bob of the pendulum, right? So as much as it's moving down here, it's not moving up here. This is key to our work. Now, I want to go through this. I want you to get this. There are two planes of consciousness, according to the Hermetic principles. The lower plane, where there's all sorts of vicissitudes, and the upper plane, where there's stillness. And the more we can lift ourselves up above, the more we can raise ourselves up, the less we are at cause and effect, right? See that point right there? It's not moving nearly as much as this point down below. This is the power of our alchemical thinking, that when we raise ourselves above confusion, when we don't get anchored in those lower vibrational frequencies, we are less subject to the emotional swings. So what happened with my housemate was I saw the emotional swing. Because thank goodness my client was there, she called me to be higher. I was like, I can't be a spiritual practitioner and delve down into naming and blaming with my housemate in front of my client, right? So she was calling me to be more, calling me to move up into the upper rooms. Okay. So when we rise above confusion, we literally, this is the practice. We can practice the law of denial. We can deny that we are subject to those more extreme swings. When we lift ourselves above confusion, we actually mentally deny the lower plane's influence on us. This is the law of neutralization. And we all can do this, and we become masters at it, right? It's going to take some time, but we're going to become a master at this as we start to first notice, oh, I'm having that conversation. I'm on that hamster wheel of condemnation, of blaming, of wanting to be right? Okay, not to be a doormat. We're just saying, oh, I'm just noticing that. Now, what's the aspiration? What is the aspiration behind what just happened? The aspiration for him being upset at me is he wants a peaceful house. The aspiration for behind what is that he wants us to be in integrity on our word. The aspiration is he wants us to be a little bit more chill about our agreements. My aspiration is I want open, honest, loving communication. I want a peaceful household. We have the same aspiration behind the aberration of our lower vibrational swings of anger. And it's okay that we got angry. It's okay that we had a little tiff. It was perfect because it caused me, it was a call. Let me go higher. Let me go up into the upper rooms. Let me move up along that pendulum rod so I'm less swayed by the vicissitudes of the emotional swings. And we can neutralize those emotional swings. That is the union of opposites. All right, I want to go through, there were some comments here. There's no person walking behind me. Boro, wait, did my roommate come in? I hope he heard all that. Let's see. Sarah. Hi, Sarah. She had this realization that she carries a lot of frustration about policymakers in her country, and it's been heavy on her heart. This morning, she had a realization in meditation that they're all one, and from this place, they started speaking to the higher self, pre-work in consciousness. Yes, right. This work takes time. And it's more about our own mental states rather than changing anyone out there. So when we're talking about politics, right? We have to be a little bit more careful. And it's not so much about changing what's going on in the world. It's changing how we relate to it. Tommy, so grateful from Knoxville. And Emmanuel, my brother from Ghana. Hello, brother. Great to see you. Greetings from Ghana. Dante, thank you for tuning in. The upper plane. All right. It looks like we had greetings from Croatia. Hello. Okay. So that's it. That's our talk today. The talk was about lifting ourselves above confusion, allowing the union of opposites, seeing that the goal is to harmonize ourselves, to inoculate ourselves against those lower vibrational forms by raising our minds above confusion and speaking from higher self to higher self and looking to see what the aspiration is, the intention is behind the actions. Right? This is the beginning of harmonization. All right. Wow. Thank you all so much. It was such a pleasure to have you all. I'm really honored by your presence, and I look so forward to our next time together. And I look forward to seeing you at Rhythmia. I'm going down there. I'll be teaching at Rhythmia the whole month of March. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all. Thank you all so much for joining. Oh, do we have time? Let's see, what time is it? All right, we do. Oops. I wanted to read, last thing to close this out. I wanted to read you I want to read to you this Ernest Holmes reading that also summarizes what we just talked about. Okay, are you guys ready? This is from Ernest Holmes. He is a great mystic who founded Science of Mind. And he writes, the argument that wins. The argument that wins. Hey, George, love you too, brother. Thank you, Stanley. Deb, thank you. He starts with a quote from the Bible. He that saith he is in the light and hateth his brother is in darkness. He that loveth his brother abideth in the light. John chapter 2, verses 9 through 10. Ernest Holmes writes, when St. John said that it is impossible for us to remain in the light while we hate someone else, he was pointing out the same truth that Jesus had in mind when he said for us to forgive that we might be forgiven. We should not expect the law of good to operate for us alone, shutting out all others. It is only that which we share with others that is really ours. We are so constituted that when we think evil of others or condemn them, it's impossible to escape this condemnation for ourselves. This is the union of opposites. The one becomes the other in its extreme. That is why Jesus said, judge not that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged. Everything that goes out comes back again. That's the Hermetic principle of rhythm. Our thoughts and acts move in circles. I bless myself for the good I would do, and I bless everyone for the good they would do. Do you see how he immediately went to the upper rooms? I recognize the presence of God at the center of my own being, and I know that the divine spirit within me responds to the same spirit in others. That's what I was doing with my roommate, my housemate. My spirit is thinking we're communicating to others. The divine spirit within me responds to the same spirit in others, comforting, unifying, and making whole. There is no criticism, no false judgment, no unkindness in me. This is the mental work that we do. We have to say this so that we deny and move above the false judgment and criticism. My whole thought and feeling is one of praise, thanksgiving, and of blessing. Today I live as though the moment were eternity. I recognize that the kingdom of good is at hand. Seeing the divine in everything, I know that the divine in all things responds to me. That's what we can do in politics, what we can do with anybody we're having an argument with. Know that the divine in you and the divine in them is one, and it responds to our thinking. We just have to speak from the higher place. Receiving the silent blessing of the Spirit, I permit this blessing to enrich the life of everyone I meet, to bring comfort, faith, and good cheer to everyone I contact. I walk in that light in which there is no darkness, in that love in which there is no fear, in that life in which there is no death. All right. Ernest Holmes, you can find that on Science of Mind 365. It's a daily reading. I read it every day. I love Ernest Holmes, and I love you guys. I'm really, 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 really grateful. Thank you for joining us. Peace and blessings, and I'll see you next week.